Let's be real for a minute. If Jesus showed up in America today, you think he'd head for the communion table? Nah. I think he'd walk right past the praise team, right past the pulpit, and go straight to that voter registration table somebody set up in the lobby. Because what we're looking at right now isn't just a religion, it's a faith that's been taken hostage. And this, right here, from Tim Whitaker, this breaks it all the way down. See, this is a hostile takeover, a strategic move that takes the central message of Christianity and reforges it into a political weapon. We got to talk about how the whole thing was engineered. So let's get one thing straight. This isn't just about Christians having opinions about politics. This is Christian nationalism. It's a specific political ideology that wraps the cross in the flag until you can't tell them apart. It stops being my faith informs how I vote and becomes my political party is my faith. That's a whole different game. And look, this didn't just happen. This merger of one political party and one version of faith, it's not some ancient truth. It was built deliberately. This wasn't a spiritual revival. It was a calculated political strategy. Let's pull the receipts. Think about it. Back in the 70s, a group of conservative political strategists looked out at the American landscape, and you know what they saw? They saw white evangelical churches, and they called them a sleeping giant. Millions of people, already organized, meeting every single week with built in leadership, trust, and communication. A ready made network, just waiting to be activated for a political cause. Now, check this timeline. The spark that lit the fuse wasn't what you think. A huge driver for this new religious right was the fight to keep schools segregated. When the IRS started threatening the tax exempt status of these so called Christian academies, which were really just segregation academies, organizers knew they needed a better look. So they pivoted. They rallied everyone under the much friendlier banner of family values, formed the moral majority, and spent the next couple of decades perfecting the message until voting for one party became the ultimate purity test of your faith. And this slide right here shows you the result of that strategy. On one side, you got what Jesus actually talked about poverty, the corrupting influence of power and empire, caring for the poor and the imprisoned. And on the other side, you got the modern talking points. The agenda got swapped. It was narrowed down to a few hot button culture war issues that were really, really good for getting out the vote. Everything else just kind of fell off the list. Okay, so that brings us to the ultimate stress test. I mean, if you wanted to run an experiment to find out if this movement truly worshiped Jesus or if it worshiped political power, you couldn't have designed a better test subject than Donald Trump. And we all had a front row seat. Remember, for decades, these were the values voters. They told us character was everything, that moral integrity in a leader was non negotiable. And then this man shows up, a living, breathing billboard for everything they said they stood against. The Access Hollywood tape alone should have been a deal breaker, but it wasn't. All of a sudden, the theological goalposts moved. The same people who demanded moral perfection from others started spinning a whole new theology. Oh, God can use anybody. We're electing a president, not a pastor. But that last one, at least he fights for us. That's the tell. Us didn't mean the kingdom of God. Us meant their political tribe. The mask was all the way off. So let's be crystal clear. This wasn't some pure movement that suddenly fell from grace. It was an unmasking. The foundation was already rotten. The priorities were already swapped. All Trump did was flip on the lights so everybody could see what the movement had already become a machine that wanted power more than it wanted God. But look, this isn't just some academic debate. There's a real human cost to all this. When you turn a faith into a political weapon, people get hurt, and the damage happens on two fronts. There are the people it's aimed at, and then there are the people who run for cover. The first wound is for the targets. Faith gets used as the justification for causing harm. Women's bodies become a political battlefield. LGBT kids get turned into scapegoats. Black and brown people are told that racism is a thing of the past, even while the systems are still in place. And that whole love your neighbor thing, it starts to come with a lot of fine print. And here's the second wound, the mass exodus. You know the fastest growing religious group in this country? It's the knowns, people who claim no religious affiliation at all. And this right here is a huge reason why. A whole generation is looking at this toxic mix of politics and piety and saying, you know what? If that's what Christianity is, I'm out. They're not rejecting Jesus, they're rejecting the hostage situation. But that's not the whole story. Because here's the part that you don't always see on the news. Not everybody bought into the hijack. In fact, there's a quiet, determined rebellion happening on the inside. You've got black pastors who have been calling out this idolatry for generations. You've got evangelicals of color drawing a hard line in the sand between the gospel of Jesus and the gospel of empire. And you have more and more white Christians who are waking up, refusing to let their faith be a political tool for Caesar. They're pushing back. And let's be clear about what they're trying to do. This isn't about making the church liberal or woke. It's not about trading one political party for another. This is a fight for the soul of the faith itself. It's about trying to make Christianity, well, Christian again, to get it back to its roots of love and justice and mercy. So I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just asking you to look and listen and to ask some hard questions. When you see the loudest Christian voices out there, ask yourself, are they more obsessed with pronouns than they are with poverty? Ask yourself, does the version of faith they're selling look more like loving your enemies, or does it sound more like a pep rally cheering for their destruction? And finally, ask yourself this: are you hearing more talk about taking the country back than you are about the simple, radical command to love your actual neighbor? If the answers to those questions don't sit right with you, you're not going crazy. You're just starting to see the hijack for what it is. So here's my only ask: it's simple. Don't confuse the hostage takers with the hostage. Don't let the political operatives who capture the brand have the final say on what it means. Here's the whole story right here. They hijacked it, then they branded it, then they weaponized it. But they don't own it, and we don't have to let them. Look, I just walked you through the big picture. But if you want the details, if you want the history, if you want all the receipts that back up every single thing I've said, go to reflectivemvs.com. Read the full analysis for yourself. See the wires.